Hello everybody, I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday. Today we're going to be looking at Winter Storm Ezekiel. This is your second or third update, I believe. And we're going to be talking about my forecast that will be covering parts of the Midwest and then into the Northeast as far as snowfall is concerned. And then I also have my own surface map that I made. So we have a couple of maps to show you and they'll be at the end of the video. So make sure that you do stay tuned all the way until the end. Right now, we're looking at the National Weather Service, and we're going to be looking at your winter storm alerts. You have winter storm warnings in the Sierras of California. Then you have in these purples, these are winter weather advisories, and these are for parts of the Midwest, and then stretching now into the Northeast, parts of Pennsylvania and the western two-thirds of Pennsylvania, and then western parts of New York near the Finger Lakes area, and then also in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and then stretching up the Rockies, and then into the Dakotas and Minnesota. Then you have winter storm warnings over a good swath of the Midwest, and blizzard warnings in the reds. So winter storm warnings in the pinks, blizzard warnings in the reds, and that covers a pretty good area. Even these blizzard warnings are pretty widespread. Wind advisories, high wind watches, high wind warnings in effect for parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. And now if you focus to the northeast, we have winter storm watches in effect for a good area. Northern New Jersey, northeast Pennsylvania, the parts of southeastern New York, also for parts of southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, most of the northern part of Massachusetts, except for the Cape, and then we have parts of western Connecticut as well under winter storm watch. We have winter storm warnings in effect where you could be seeing 6 to 12 inches of snowfall or more over parts of southeastern New York into southern Vermont and parts of the western parts of Massachusetts, just to the west of Boston, right there. Then we have some ice storm warnings in effect for parts of the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia and southern Pennsylvania. Now we are going to get right into things. We're going to look at the severe weather for today because we do actually have a pretty good threat for severe weather over parts of the south, and this is for Louisiana and then stretching into Arkansas, Mississippi, also Texas is involved with this, and then also into Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. All those areas could see a slight risk of severe weather today. Here's your tornado risk. You have a 2% risk in that green and then 5% risk right inside of that in the brown. A wind risk, 15% in the yellow and 5% in the brown. And then a hail risk, we have a 5% in the brown and a 15% in the yellow. So we do have actually a pretty decent threat for November to see some severe weather. This is pretty unlikely for November. Usually you don't see severe weather. Usually that ends sometime in late October, early November, that time frame. But we still do have some severe weather persisting over the southeast and the south central. Now, here's the National Weather Service's forecast as far as snowfall is concerned, all the way through Tuesday. So this is going to cover all of Ezekiel now. So as we get into it here, we have in these blues about a coating of an inch to close to 8 inches, 8 to about 12 inches in those purples, 12 to about 16 inches in the whites, 16 to 24 inches in the pinks, and then in the reds we actually have some of that showing up south of Albany, New York, near Poughkeepsie, and that's right around 24 to 28 inches of snowfall through Tuesday, right around Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. Eastern time. So you see over the north central U.S. we have a good swath of about 12 inches of snowfall or more, and that's over northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, central Minnesota, southeast parts of North Dakota, and then a lot of South Dakota, and then into the Rockies in Montana and Wyoming. Now over to the northeast, we have a good swath again of about a foot or more, and that's to the west of Boston, into upstate New York, southern Vermont, near the Green Mountains, the White Mountains. You guys could be seeing a good foot of snowfall. Some areas seeing 2 feet of snowfall over south central upstate New York, and then beyond that, that's about a 3 to 5 inch zone that covers New York and then into Boston and then near Manchester, New Hampshire as well, and then Rochester and into parts of Buffalo, Watertown, you guys could be seeing 3 to 5 inches, and then surrounding that, about a coating to an inch of snowfall is predicted. Here's your ice forecast, and a pretty good idea of where this ice is going to form, and it's going to be on the south side of this snowfall, and a lot of this ice is actually going to come in when when that storm is still heading in. So in the leading front of this, some areas could be getting a good thumping of ice, especially for Pennsylvania and southern upstate New York. You guys could get about a quarter of an inch from the National Weather Service, which is really a bad sign if the National Weather Service is also catching on to this ice, a lot of ice accumulating. Even a tenth of an inch of ice can cause some pretty hectic travel over these areas, so be mindful, slow down, really. Pittsburgh and Erie, Pennsylvania, the western part of Pennsylvania, I don't think is going to get too much snowfall, if any snowfall, from this event. Maybe a coating or so, but nothing too much from this event. It's mainly going to be farther to the east in southern New England, upstate New York, and then into parts of northeast Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey. That's the real bullseye area for the system. Now, we're going to look at the GFS, the NAM 12KM, and then also the European model as to what they're showing as far as snowfall is concerned. So here we go. We have your GFS model, and here's your forecasted radar. So by this afternoon, you're seeing pretty heavy snowfall entering into parts of the Midwest, the northern plains, and then into the Great Lakes by Sunday morning, and then really out of here, just some lingering snow and rain showers by Monday morning. Now here's the northeast view, and you're seeing about, I would say, a good a couple hours from now, and we're going to be seeing some snowfall in these areas. So about Sunday morning, you're going to be seeing snowfall in these areas. Over really, the GFS has this farther to the north, which I don't agree with. I think the GFS has a bullseye right around here, but I think this is going to be shifted a bit further south, more like this being the bullseye, and the GFS shows no snow south of here, so I really don't agree with that. I think you'll at least get a coating farther south. Now, as we continue, snowfall lingers into Monday over the interior northeast, and then some back-end snowfall over New York and Philadelphia by Tuesday morning, as you're getting ready for work and getting out to school. Now, here's what the GFS is forecasting as far as snowfall for these areas over North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota. A good widespread 6+ inches, and then a lot of areas seeing a foot, and some areas seeing 2 feet of snowfall near Duluth, Minnesota. Now we're gonna look at the Mid-Atlantic view from this, and this is for the GFS as well, and you see this really for the Great Lakes, you're seeing a good 3 to 6 inches, and then some areas over north central Michigan potentially seeing 6+ inches of snowfall. And now as we head into parts of the northeast, you see how the GFS really keeps it very far north. The southern extent of this is into north central New Jersey, while other models have this all the way down into DC, Maryland, Delaware. So I'm agreeing more with these models farther south, just because I believe that there's going to be enough cold air on the backside. The GFS has the low pressure way out by the time the cold air gets here. I believe there will be enough cold air on the backside to potentially surprise a couple of folks with some a good banding of snowfall for maybe half an hour, 2 hours in some scenarios, and that will definitely surprise a couple of people with this forecast. But generally, the GFS is showing good 2 feet of snowfall out of this event, so very surprising and very interesting how much it is showing right there. Now here's the NAM 12KM model. And this is a higher resolution model, and it goes in shorter increments, so about 1 to 3 hour increments. So as we fast forward this here into the north central U.S., it stays for a good 12 hours, and then goes into Great Lakes by Sunday morning, and then it's pretty much out, just some lingering snow and rain showers for these areas. Now into the northeast, you're seeing your southern extent of the snow starting to pop up right around Sunday morning, very early in the morning, and then it moves into parts of the coastal Northeast. Boston now getting into some of this snowfall. Boston right along the coast could be some rainfall for a little bit, and then eventually it'll transition to pretty much all snowfall. This would be from Monday afternoon, and then into Tuesday morning, some back end snowfall for Boston, New York City. Boston looks to get some heavier snowfall according to this model, close to a foot of snowfall, which you'll see. This storm wouldn't even be finished by this model run. The model run only goes out 84 hours, so this storm will most likely be in 96 hours out. Then we'll be able to see the full event, but you can kind of get a good gist of what this model thinks is going to happen. So here's the snowfall for the north central U.S. according to this model, a good banding of 6+ inches, and then over northern Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan, seeing about a foot to a foot and a half widespread. Here's the northeast U.S. Yeah, you see the NAM 12 km sees about 10 to 12 inches right along the shore, and then further to the west, the western suburbs of Boston could see a foot and a half. And you see how the NAM 12 km has this southern extent right around here. I believe this is going to be fairly accurate, but I don't know about this snowfall too much. This is a bit more sporadic and harder to predict, as you'll have to see if the if the cold air can actually reach those areas in time. Now, here is the European model. So here's the European model, 1 hour model. So it goes in 1 hour increments. It's a it's a fairly high resolution model, and it is the European model. It's just it only goes out 90 hours. It's the same European model, but instead of going 6 hour increments, it goes in 1 hour increments. So it's better for forecasting closer to the actual event. Now, as we get into this, you see how it starts to really get its act together by Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, and then it starts to head out by Sunday morning, and it's pretty much all out of the north central U.S. and the Midwest by Sunday midday. Now, here is the Great Lakes, and you see the snowfall starts to head into Wisconsin by Saturday morning, and it's gonna get into Michigan by Saturday afternoon. But really, that rain snow line is creeping further and further north. Now you'll see the snowfall starting to head into the northeast, but still some snowfall is lingering, and that's not gonna go away until about Monday morning. Here's for the northeast, and you're seeing this snow really coming in by Sunday morning, and then it's heading out. The European has a bit of a colder look, which I'm going somewhere in between the European and the NAM 12 km model. It's showing a good band of snowfall over Boston, and then into Albany, New York, and Poughkeepsie, New York. All those areas could see a pretty good band of snowfall, moderate to heavy snowfall, and then back end snowfall comes in for New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and then into northern Maryland and Delaware, coming by Monday night into Tuesday morning for a couple of hours, and then it heads out. Now, here's a snowfall forecast from the European model, out 90 hours. So 6+ inches widespread, and the European is a bit more conservative with this Midwestern snowfall, not showing 2 feet of snowfall, more like a foot of snowfall in the jackpot areas. So big differences as far as snowfall, but still generally you'll get a good thumping of snowfall over the central part of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the Dakotas, as well as northern Nebraska. Now, here is the Great Lakes. Northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin could get a foot to foot and a half of snowfall, and then getting into the northeast, the European again shows this extent of snowfall very, very far south. I'm thinking more around this for the farthest extent of accumulating snowfall. At least you'll definitely see some flakes further south than that. Now, here is your snowfall for the northeast, and you see it's more of a southern New England system, and it could dump a good foot and a half to 2 feet of snowfall in some areas. I wouldn't be surprised to see some amounts higher than 18 inches from this event. Now, we're gonna look at my forecast from the from my forecast, from what I made. So I made these maps myself, and here's a surface map of what I think is to come. So I think it's going to stay mostly snow over these areas in the blue, and that includes parts of southern New England into upstate New York and northern New England as well. Now, snow slash rain, it's really gonna, for the northeast, as at least for the coastal northeast, it's really gonna stay. It's gonna be rain. You're gonna start as ice, go to rain for quite a bit, and then transition to snow for a couple hours, and then that's where you really get your accumulation of snowfall. You have this area of ice where you could get a good quarter of an inch to more of ice from this system, and then rainfall over south of this area into anywhere from northern Florida all the way up to DC and into Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and then pretty much everywhere in between, seeing rainfall. Severe weather in this red area, and that's over parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana, and that's where you could potentially get some brief spin-ups from this, but definitely not too likely that you will get a tornado, but potentially more on a higher risk for hail than tornadoes and other types of severe weather like that. Now here's my snowfall prediction. So I'm predicting a coating, or at least seeing snowflakes coming out of the air over this lightest blue shade, and this covers a pretty good swath of where the storm is going to track. Now here's your 1 to 3 inch layer, and I think this is going to really extend down all the way into just north near Baltimore, that area, and then up through the Great Lakes, and then down again through the Midwest. Now here's your 3 to 6 inch layer, and I believe this is going to be more for the Northeast and then also for the Midwest, and I believe that you could get some 3-inch accumulations all the way as far south as, I would say, central New Jersey, right along the border between like North and South Jersey, and then into near the Philadelphia area. That's where I think you could be right around 3 to 6 inches. Now here's your 6 to 12 inch layer, and this is for southern New England and then also for the Great Lakes and the Midwest, where you could really be at the bullseye of this system. And then a 12 to 18 inch layer. This is my final layer. But definitely some areas could see 18 to 24 inches. It's just it's very hard to pinpoint where exactly that will be. So 12 to 18 inches over parts of Massachusetts into southern New Hampshire, Vermont, and then into eastern upstate New York. Now here's the map with all the layers with all the snowfall amounts on them. So if you wanted to see where your area could be how much your area could be expecting. Anyways, guys, this is gonna wrap up the video. If you do have any questions on this event, I will be answering all comments that you do post. I answer all your comments, and I'll try to give you a brief summary of what I think is gonna happen. So just give me a general location, so like New York City, Boston, and I'll give you a forecast for your area and your expected snowfall amounts from the system, as we do get updates throughout the day. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching the video, and also thank you for all the support on the recent videos that I've been making. I'm gonna leave it at here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.